Malcolm X was a beacon of hope for the oppressed. He was a voice for the voiceless. His words ignited a fire for change. His life, though tragically cut short, continues to inspire generations. Malcolm's journey from the depths of despair to becoming a global icon for human rights is a testament to the power of self-belief and the pursuit of justice. Malcolm's story is a powerful reminder that our past does not define our future. He transformed from a petty criminal into a charismatic leader. He challenged racial inequality with unwavering conviction. He called for self-reliance and black empowerment. Malcolm's legacy is one of courage, resilience, and an unyielding commitment to truth. Malcolm's impact extends far beyond the civil rights era. His words still resonate today. His life is a testament to the power of one person to make a difference. Malcolm Little, as he was originally known, was born into a world of hardship and racial prejudice. His early years were shaped by the harsh realities of a segregated America, where opportunities for African Americans were severely limited, and the threat of violence was ever present. His childhood was marred by tragedy and the constant threat of white supremacy. The pervasive racism of the time created an environment of fear and uncertainty for Malcolm and his family. His father, a Baptist minister and outspoken advocate for black rights, faced constant harassment from white supremacist groups. He was a follower of Marcus Garvey and believed in the empowerment and self-sufficiency of black people, which made him a target. This turmoil cast a long shadow over Malcolm's formative years. The constant fear and instability affected his sense of security and belonging. Tragedy struck when Malcolm was only 6 years old. His father, who had been a pillar of strength and a source of inspiration, was suddenly taken from him. His father was found dead under suspicious circumstances. The official ruling was an accident, but the nature of his death left many questions unanswered. The official ruling was an accident, but his family believed he was murdered by the Black Legion, a white supremacist group. This belief added to the family's grief and sense of injustice. His mother, struggling to cope with the loss and the burden of raising a large family alone, suffered a mental breakdown. The weight of her husband's death and the relentless pressure of raising her children in a hostile environment proved too much. The children were split up and placed in different foster homes. This separation was a devastating blow to the family, further fracturing their already fragile sense of unity. This traumatic experience left an indelible mark on young Malcolm. The loss of his family and the harsh realities of the foster care system deeply affected him. He faced constant racism and discrimination in school. Despite these challenges, Malcolm showed remarkable resilience and intelligence. He excelled academically but became disillusioned with the limited opportunities available to him as a young black man in a society rife with prejudice. His dreams and aspirations were constantly thwarted by the systemic racism that permeated every aspect of life. Malcolm's life took a turn for the worse when he moved to Boston in his teens. The vibrant yet troubled streets of Boston presented both opportunities and dangers. He became involved in petty crime and hustling to survive. The allure of quick money and the need to assert his independence drew him into a life of crime. He embraced the street life, immersing himself in a world of drugs, gambling, and theft. This period of his life was marked by a search for identity and belonging, albeit in the wrong places. The choices he made during these years would set the stage for his eventual transformation. By his early 20s, Malcolm's criminal activities caught up with him. He had been involved in various illegal activities, including drug dealing, gambling, and burglary, which eventually led to his downfall. He was convicted of burglary and sentenced to 10 years in prison. The courtroom was a stark reminder of the consequences of his actions, and the reality of his situation began to sink in as he was led away in handcuffs. Prison, often a place of despair, became Malcolm's unlikely salvation. The isolation and harsh conditions forced him to confront his past and reflect on his future. It was within these confines that he began to seek a deeper meaning in life. It was behind bars that he embarked on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening. The prison library became his sanctuary, a place where he could escape the physical confines of his cell and explore new worlds through books. Malcolm's turning point came when his brother Reginald, who had joined the Nation of Islam, wrote to him about the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. This letter sparked a curiosity in Malcolm, leading him to question his previous beliefs and consider a new path. Intrigued by his brother's transformation and the message of black empowerment, Malcolm began reading voraciously. He immersed himself in literature, devouring books on history, philosophy, and religion, educating himself during his incarceration. He devoured books on history, philosophy, and religion, educating himself during his incarceration. The more he read, the more he began to understand the systemic oppression faced by black people and the importance of self-education. The Nation of Islam's message of black pride and self-reliance resonated deeply with Malcolm's experiences. He found solace in its teachings, which provided a framework for understanding his own struggles and those of his community. He saw in its teachings a path to redemption and a way to uplift his people. Malcolm began sharing his newfound knowledge with fellow inmates, inspiring them to seek their own paths to enlightenment and empowerment. He embraced the nation's strict moral code, giving up smoking, gambling, and eating pork. These changes were not just symbolic, they represented a profound shift in his identity and values. He committed himself to prayer and the study of Islamic scriptures. This spiritual discipline provided him with a sense of purpose and direction, guiding him through the remaining years of his sentence. Prison transformed Malcolm from a lost soul into a devout and disciplined follower of the Nation of Islam. His time behind bars was not wasted. It was a period of intense personal growth and transformation. He emerged from prison in 1952, a changed man, ready to dedicate his life to the cause of black liberation. With a newfound sense of purpose, Malcolm X would go on to become one of the most influential figures in the fight for civil rights, using his experiences to inspire and lead others. Upon his release from prison, Malcolm X, as he now called himself, fully embraced the Nation of Islam. This was a transformative period in his life, marking a significant shift in his identity and purpose. The teachings of Elijah Muhammad resonated deeply with him, providing a framework for understanding the systemic oppression faced by black Americans. He quickly rose through the ranks, becoming a charismatic speaker and minister. His eloquence and passion were undeniable, captivating audiences wherever he went. Malcolm's ability to articulate the struggles and aspirations of black Americans made him a prominent figure within the Nation of Islam. Malcolm's fiery oratory skills and his ability to connect with the anger and frustration of black Americans drew huge crowds to Nation of Islam rallies. His speeches were not just words, they were a call to action, a demand for justice and equality. People found hope and strength in his message, feeling empowered to stand up against the injustices they faced daily. Malcolm's message was unapologetically black-centric. He spoke of black pride, self-respect, and the importance of understanding one's history and culture. His words ignited a sense of identity and purpose among his listeners, encouraging them to embrace their heritage and fight for their rights. He rejected the integrationist approach advocated by Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights leaders. While King preached nonviolence and integration, Malcolm believed that true freedom could only be achieved through self-determination and separation from a society that had long oppressed black people. He argued that black people needed to separate from white society and build their own institutions and communities. This was not just about physical separation, but also about mental and economic independence. Malcolm envisioned a future where black people could thrive without relying on a system that had historically marginalized them. He preached self-defense against racist attacks and called for black economic empowerment. Malcolm believed that black people had the right to protect themselves and their communities from violence and discrimination. He also emphasized the importance of economic self-sufficiency, encouraging black businesses and entrepreneurship. Malcolm's message resonated with many who felt marginalized by the slow pace of progress in the civil rights movement. His words spoke to the frustrations of those who were tired of waiting for change and were ready to take action. He offered a vision of empowerment and self-reliance that inspired many to join the cause. He became a powerful symbol of black pride and resistance, particularly among young people disillusioned with the status quo. His message of self-respect and empowerment resonated deeply with the younger generation, who saw in him a leader who understood their struggles and aspirations. His growing influence and outspoken criticism of white supremacy drew the attention of the FBI. They saw him as a threat to the established order and feared that his message would incite racial unrest and challenge the status quo. They saw him as a threat and placed him under surveillance, fearing his message would incite racial unrest. The FBI's scrutiny only added to Malcolm's resolve as he continued to speak out against injustice and advocate for the rights and dignity of Black Americans. Malcolm X became a powerful voice for the disenfranchised. He traveled tirelessly across the United States, speaking at rallies, universities, and prisons. He articulated the pain and frustration of Black Americans living in a society plagued by systemic racism and discrimination. He challenged the hypocrisy of a nation that preached equality while denying basic human rights to its Black citizens. Malcolm's charisma and his uncompromising message made him both admired and feared. His critics accused him of preaching hatred and violence. However, his supporters saw him as a courageous truth-teller, unafraid to challenge the status quo. Malcolm's influence extended beyond the Nation of Islam. He became a prominent figure in the broader civil rights movement. He formed alliances with some civil rights leaders while engaging in heated debates with others. His unwavering commitment to Black liberation made him a force to be reckoned with. Malcolm's growing popularity and his increasing criticism of the Nation of Islam's leadership created tension within the organization. His relationship with Elijah Muhammad became strained. In 1964, Malcolm X embarked on a life-changing pilgrimage to Mecca. This journey would profoundly alter his views on race and religion. In Mecca, he witnessed Muslims of all races and ethnicities praying together in unity. This experience challenged his deeply held belief in Black supremacy. He realized that Islam transcended racial boundaries. He saw firsthand the true meaning of brotherhood and equality within the Muslim community. Malcolm returned from Mecca a transformed man. He embraced Sunni Islam, rejecting the Nation of Islam's teachings of Black superiority. He adopted the name El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, reflecting his new faith and his evolving worldview. This transformation marked a significant shift in Malcolm's message. He began to advocate for racial integration and interracial cooperation. He spoke about the importance of human rights for all people, regardless of race or religion.